Sometimes I just wish like I had ACDC. Dun, 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 dun. What's up, Bitcoin Radio? It's your man, Joe Blackburn, and we are live here with Jim Scampoli for the WBTC Bitcoin Radio Hour here on Tuesday night. For most of us, those of you in Europe, you're already experiencing the early morning. If you're still with us, hopefully you've had a few drinks and you can really enjoy it. So anyways, what's up, Jim? How's it going tonight, brother?
What it do? It must be Tuesday. Bitcoin's making everyone go crazy or scaring them away. So, it's time for a little live cast. Am I wrong?
Right. That's right. No, you're exactly right. I walked outside hoping there was a full moon to explain all the nuttiness. And even my friends are going nuts. Like they don't realize the things that they're saying and the implications that it has on everybody else. When you say things and you're a leader in the space, whether you're in CCT or whether you're on Twitter, you're saying things that really it really directs the narrative, or at least the sentiment, I think. And there's a lot of responsibility that falls on people with voices these days, that to really you don't have to lie, you don't have to pretend like everything's all right. If the house is on fire, the house is on fire, but the house isn't on fire. So I don't know why people keep acting like it is. It just kind of look crazy.
Yeah, I know it can almost be like a broken record around here, but it's like, I guess we'd be better off maybe if, Bitcoin just did the steady uptick instead of like jumping up to like 13 and then kind of dropping down to 7. Like if it was just kind of naturally progressed to where it is now from where it was, say, like at the beginning of the year or earlier in the year, everyone would be psyched. Right now, people are pretty bummed and not feeling it. They're kind of they're cashed out. They're checked out. They don't want to talk.
Well said.
But if you do talk to them, they're going to be pretty down. I guess it's all relative. Some people might just be because they bought in pretty high, and that's always a tough place to be. But what are you going to do?
That's not most people, bro. Right? Like it's not like that's the majority of the people we know in Bitcoin. And I guess that's probably the most frustrating thing for me, is that like I'm dealing with folks that got in at $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, and it's like Bitcoin's dead, and we're like, Bitcoin isn't dead. Yeah. Relax, folks. Life's good. We're gonna be okay. And guess what else? Bitcoin's gonna be here tomorrow. It's gonna be here the next day, and there's nobody who can get rid of it. Literally, Jim, think about that. Nobody can get rid of it. I mean, if Congress wants to talk to Bitcoin or Satoshi Nakamoto, where are they going? I mean, there's no CEO, there's no employee, there's no customer. It's just a bunch of people who want to transact peer to peer.
There's one thing I just saw right before we started streaming here. One of these headlines here, I guess, according to Rhythm Trader, that's Twitter at Rhythm Trader. The headline here is that hodlers are insane. 64% of Bitcoin supply has not moved since 2018. So what do you think about that? The fact that people are holding like that. I don't know if the context there is that you're insane because they didn't sell like when it was higher, or even now if they bought low. But isn't that kind of the idea? The idea is we're supposed to be holding. Yeah. We're supposed to tough it out here because we're on to the greener pastures.
Okay, so first off, I think that's a really relevant, not just relevant, that's really needed question to ask, and I appreciate the way that you asked it. Jim, if you were to have bought Bitcoin 7 years ago and you never looked at it again, are you happy today?
Yeah, you got to be, right?
If you had bought Bitcoin a year ago, just as you noted, right, and you closed your computer and you didn't look at the price of Bitcoin, are you happy today?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And so these same people who are telling us that we're crazy probably like last month woke up and saw the light that Bitcoin was probably going to go back down for a minute. And now we're the crazy ones. And I don't have a lot of respect for people who come out and, you're a crazy dumbass. Like, give me a reason to believe Bitcoin isn't going to go back up. And if you think that you're going to catch every top or every bottom, you're an idiot. There's a few of you probably who aren't listening to this show, but there's a few people in the cryptoverse that are that good. I know one of them, but I mean, he'll be the first person to say he can't catch every top or bottom. I refuse to play this back and forth game with Bitcoin. The reason why we read it a couple days ago when we read the hodler, why the hodler had exists, why it's called hodler. And if you didn't listen to the last episode when I had Jim read it out loud to everybody, it's well worth the time, or at least go read why HODL exists, where the origins of HODL is. But that person, he's like, I'm not part of the person who wins or loses. I'm already part of the market cap, and I'm not changing it. Right. Yeah. And that's not crazy, folks. That guy was back in 2013, I think 2013, 2014, when he wrote that, and everybody was calling him an idiot and crazy, and you're insane for not selling, or you're insane for not, knowing that that's the top. And he's like, you know what? I'm too drunk to care. I'm not that good of a trader. I'm just going to hold. And the same principle, it literally applies to today. You just don't know what happens next. That's the only difference. So I'm very, very confident when I say this, that I believe Bitcoin is far from over, and it's got plenty of room to grow up in capital and market cap. That's not the only reason why I'm in Bitcoin, but that's the reason why most people are. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. You've got to have a pretty pleasant experience for this to literally appeal to you for the long term. If you buy in it, all it does forever is just go down. Well, obviously it doesn't matter what Bitcoin's doing. If you're just losing money constantly, it doesn't make any sense financially. But on the other hand, if you are able to experience and maybe capitalize on some of the gains, but see the long-term vision, recognize that Bitcoin, every time someone buys and holds it, guess what? Becomes more rare. McAfee, he often says this and he makes it sound so simple, but it really is that simple. Every time someone holds, there's less Bitcoin available to buy. And as any market does, rarity increases value, or at least perceived value. And so the more rare it is, the more people are willing to spend on it, the more that people tend to FOMO. Now, that's a human element. That's not a market element. That's what humans do to a market. And charts are not, alive. Charts are just representative, lines that go up and down based on human behavior. So, and of course, I'll slow it down here. We can kind of, transition thought and get your perspective on what I'm saying here. But Jim, it's as simple as the math problem that John McAfee says, but it's also this. It's as simple as every time that I sell Bitcoin, I'm contributing to that, to that market going down. And, I know a lot of people who buy it, they see it go down $50 and then they sell it because they're scared. Yeah. Right. I see a lot of people who go to BitMEX, or they go to Bybit, or one of the other exchanges that you can leverage. And, it's not like I've never participated in some capacity in a leverage trade, but, it doesn't help when you short Bitcoin at 100x, right? Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, relax. Now, ultimately, the whales supposedly control everything. And so if the whales control everything, they also want it to go back up. So you got to pick and choose, folks. Anyways, I'll stop being so long-winded, Jim.
No, I appreciate it. It's informative. Because like what it says here, roughly 18.08 million Bitcoins have been mined.
Yep.
11.58 million, or 64% of the supply, has stayed in the same wallet since 2018. I guess since that's more recent, what people always talk about like the amount of Bitcoin that was just kind of lost to the ether, like whether it be people lose their keys or whatever happens around that. Is there a general idea of what kind of percentage that is on like what was just kind of gone? What's just kind of gone?
I know it's around 4 million Bitcoin.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I say that I don't actually know.
Everyone, it can only be a guesstimate, anyways. Even if someone's like really studying it, I imagine.
All right, and if there is anybody who is listening, if you want to come on for 5 minutes, have a chat with us, give us some thoughts. I can send you a link. You can hop on. You can cover your camera if you just want to do your, your voice. I'm okay with that, Jim. I'm sure you are too. But going back to your question that you asked about, how many Bitcoin are actually lost, it's between 3 to 4 million supposedly, right? I have not overly verified that. I don't know if it's even possible, but there's a lot of Bitcoin that hasn't moved in a long time. But what I love the most, Jim, is that there's a bunch of wallets. Like, you can never truly empty your wallet out, right? Like, it's almost impossible to take all. Now, some do allow you to hit you, like send max. Like, I know Coinbase lets you do it, etc. But there's a lot of other wallets that you try to send all your Bitcoin, and they're like, oh, there's not enough money for your miner fees, and they want to make sure that there's enough for you to send, so they're not losing money, whatever it might be, right? Well, what's left in there, even if it's like 15 satoshis, okay, that's called dust. The dust of a Bitcoin transaction, and that dust is going to continue to collect, and it's going to be in wallets. Like, I mean, just imagine filling the whole space up. At some point, there's going to be like $2 to $5 million or million Bitcoins worth of just dust. So I mean, like that's crazy to me. That's like a project. Like, it's not even projected. It's guaranteed to happen.
It's like weed resin.
Exactly. But you can't go get it out. You're just throwing it away. How much weed is wasted?
Yeah, just well, I mean, if you got a real scavenger out there, they're gonna try to scrape as much resin as they can together. Maybe they got an off week Bitcoin.
Let's take the collective. Let's take the collective of everybody who's smoking weed out there, Jim. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many people are literally scraping the bottom of the barrel before they throw it away?
Oh no,
2%.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So
Maybe
I think
5.
that's a nice analogy on where to put it. But so that just stays. There's like nothing you can do about that.
Well, if you don't have enough in there, you got to add Bitcoin in to send the rest out. Otherwise, it's not worth it. I mean, you're going to go send 10 cents somewhere?
Yeah, no, it's true.
I mean, I've got actual bank accounts that probably have like a couple bucks that I've just left them in, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but the point is I would venture to say hundreds, if not, several hundred wallets of some capacity that I've left crypto in. And I don't remember half of them. I mean, we're not talking about I've left $1,000. We're talking about I've left, between, a penny and $5 in between there, where it's not even like, I'm not even thinking about it, and fortunately for me, I'm not in a situation. I'm not saying that others don't have a reason to go and get that. I should go and collect it, because if I've got 100 wallets with $5 in it, that's $500 with a Bitcoin, right? So obviously I would want to go and consolidate, but you're still going to leave dust in those wallets. You're still going to. It's impossible, almost impossible, to get all your Bitcoin out, just because the wallets account for the transaction fees that make sure that when you send, you're not hurting the network, right? So therefore, you can't literally send all your Bitcoin unless you're risking, or the wallet risks, you being able to make them or make somebody else pay for it, and that's not the idea. You can't do that. So, and I'm not a developer, people, as you know. So I'm sure that there's something, maybe it's even built into the Bitcoin network, Jim. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But just like the resin at the bottom of a bowl of weed, when you scrape it out and you just dump it, right? How much is wasted because you're too lazy, or it's just impossible to get the rest out, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so as that continues to build, it just in transactions alone, you are losing out on a small piece, but just like the guys in Office Space, right? What did the guys in Office Space do? They took like 1 cent off of like every transaction. There was like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of transactions, and they made a little bit of money. And then they beat up their computer, which is awesome. Or no, that was that one guy, the red stapler guy.
No, they beat up the printer or whatever. PC load letter. What the fuck is that?
Yeah. No, exactly. I just meant the guy, the red stapler dude, is who was actually laundering the money out.
Oh yeah, he ended up with the money. He ended up with the
stapler.
And just one other thing on this article that we're talking about here, because it does say that. I mean, besides them saying like hodlers of last resort are insane, because they're saying that according to the data, the amount of dormant BTC as a percentage of the total supply has sharply increased in recent years. The trend has remained intact during both bull markets and bear markets, signaling a desire among investors to save rather than spend, regardless of profitability. But like, that's kind of good news, isn't it? Like that's just saying that a lot of people kind of understand, or at least have faith in Bitcoin, and they're not just about the day trade or the selling low, buying, I mean buying low, selling high, they kind of believe in it. So I guess even in something right now where people are kind of down because the price is dropping or kind of going sideways, it means that there's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, I'd say.
Dude, the majority of Bitcoin doesn't move, right?
Yeah.
Coinbase does a really good job for people who are not like, if your money's in Coinbase or if your Bitcoin's in Coinbase, I'm not even going to get into right or wrong, smart or dumb, but you're more than likely a really casual, very casual Bitcoin owner, right? Somebody who maybe either took a chance. Hey, mate, look, I'll put $2,500 in, or I'll put $250 in. We'll see where maybe one day it's worth, $3,000. Who knows? Or you're somebody who literally, just likes Bitcoin, knows the idea, but there's very little that you can do with your Coinbase Bitcoin, right? There's just little, you're just so limited. And also in the US, every transaction you make is a taxable event, right? So you're putting yourself at risk to having a lot of potential tax, or maybe, you need some tax deductions, who knows? But because of the nature of Coinbase, which is the largest, wallet in the United States, and at least, I mean, not that you can actually know that, right? Yeah. But the largest legitimized and acknowledged wallet of all United States holders, it should make you feel really confident that it continues to get bigger, their stash. Now that number that I saw a year ago may have changed. Maybe it's cracking now. I don't know if Polo's even a US company anymore, but I mean, whoever it is, obviously Coinbase has a huge influence in how people are holding their Bitcoin, and the majority of it's on Coinbase. In my opinion, that is just, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. Jim, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Coinbase, and I'll stand by Coinbase every day. I don't care what their fees are. I don't care how much it costs you to trade. It's not a trading platform. It's a hodling platform. And the more people that are hodling Bitcoin, it only requires a little bit of interest to make it very hard to get some. Now, right now, interest is declining on a momentary basis, right? Prisoner of the moment. That's crypto in general. All I've been seeing for the last month and a half is everybody using the term prisoner of the moment. Now, obviously, this term has been around for a very long time, but it feels like it's like the cool thing to say on news or on sports right now. I mean, someone called me a prisoner of the moment when I was talking about Luka Doncic, playing great basketball. By the way, he had 30 points in the end of the third quarter today, which I thought was insane. People were talking smack to me that Luka's not one of the future greats. Anyways, that's irrelevant, but to the point of being a prisoner of the moment, cryptocurrency holders and cryptocurrency traders are different types of people. And traders literally are prisoners of the moment at all times. And hodlers, traders can say what they want. They just want everybody to think that the price is going down so they can short it, so they can make money off of you selling it. And then they can buy it at the bottom, and they can take advantage of your dumbass selling all your Bitcoin. Just like the hodl man said, you're not going to get me. I don't care if I miss the top, and I'm not going to worry about catching the bottom because I'm already part of the market cap. And I ain't going nowhere, folks. And that's how I feel. And if you feel differently, hey, that's your prerogative. But you know what? You're the idiot for not believing in Bitcoin, because all it's ever done is prove us right and prove you wrong, skeptic, asshole.
He's getting that fire going, getting that fire lit. Now,
do I sound like I'm telling you the truth? Like, do you believe me when I say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I mean it. Like, I'm again, a lot of this is opinions, and we're talking about price, and we're not even talking about the reason why Bitcoin exists, but that's okay. That's the majority of the reasons why people exist in this space, though.
Well, I mean, and especially right now, like, as far as discussion wise, I mean, something like this, like, the reason why I wanted to talk a little bit about this article is because it surprised me, because everything's perception, obviously, right? And obviously, like, seeing what people talk about online, even though a lot of those are more of the loudest people, it proves that they represent the minority, because most of the posts or most of the discussions are people sharing their graphs and, you know,
Charts.
their charts and their predictions on graphs. Jesus.
Hey, look. For the record, Jim, I love that you said that because you're not wrong. Like in what you say, it's just your perceived explanation of what's going on. You're an awesome personality. Is why I like doing these shows with you. But you bring that genuine, honest question that people are afraid to ask, and I applaud you not for just your balls, because obviously I don't know how big they are because I've never seen them, but and I don't intend on seeing them either. But you are a genuine and honest Bitcoin holder who's brand new to the space, and you've just been doing radio and talk shows for the last decade, if not longer. And so I enjoy having your presence on here. But and you're fun to talk to.
Thank you.
You feel cool too, Jim. You do a great job with that.
Thanks. So it's just tough because, that's what it feels like everyone's talking about. I mean, I guess even when things are up, that's all everyone wants to talk about too, at least as far as in the public discourse. It's all price, chart. Where do you think it's going? I think it's going to the moon. I think we're back to 2,500. So people do want to hear about it, but it is interesting just if you're breaking down some of the numbers that most people are kind of ignoring that because they've already made up their mind. They're in it. They're in it for the long haul, not for the short gain.
And I don't want to compare Bitcoin to like NBA or Major League Baseball trading cards, right? But I'm going to use this perception at least. Most people who've made a lot of money off baseball cards, how did they make that money? Like, let's just be generic. Like, I don't want to like pretend like either one of us are experts in that industry. But, we're not talking about the person who made it a business. We're not talking about the person who created a business around baseball cards. But if you were a baseball card, there's a lot of people who made a lot of money off baseball cards, for the record. Like people can bash on it or call it dorky, whatever. There are millionaires who have been made off of baseball cards. And it's a niche. It's not going to encompass a whole bunch of people. It's maybe 1 million people in the entire, maybe there's 3 million people collecting. I don't know. I don't even want to guess on that number because I'm not that into it yet. But how do you think, those people who got rich off of owning baseball cards got rich, Jim?
Just kind of minding their own business and collecting their stuff. And
then what? They probably at some point either forgot about it.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Or they were just ultra collectors who had just unlimited, disposable cash that they could just like F with, and they could have for fun. But more than likely, you were, 14 years old back when Mickey Mantle was playing, and by the 1980s, 1990s, rolling around in the peak of the industry where everybody, all of a sudden, they call it the junk wax era, right? And that's because it was so overly done. They were printing Ken Griffey Jr. cards that were in 1989 cards. They were still printing them in 1991. You didn't know that, right? Because you thought they were going to be rare. You had like super, geniuses going out buying, $200 Ken Griffey Jr. cards in 1989, thinking they were going to be worth $200,000 one day because you thought that they were going to be rare. Here's the thing. The person who was buying, the Mickey Mantles and just collecting them just because you enjoyed it, using their disposable income, whether you were 12 or whether you're 25 or whether you're 50, by the time they were worth a lot of money, you didn't buy the day before and become rich the next day. Mickey Mantle had long been, retired. Mickey Mantle was done 1959. I think Mickey Mantle was one of the most popular, or not popular, but one of the most expensive baseball cards out there. But you literally, at some point, probably just forgot about it. And then either you or your son or daughter found them in the attic and like, holy shit, I've got some damn baseball cards from 30 years ago that might be worth something. Sure enough, your Mickey Mantle 1959 rookie card, because they threw half of them away in the Atlantic Ocean because the business was so bad. Literally, the guy just threw half of them in the Atlantic Ocean. The guy, Mr. Tops, that card's worth $1 million, right? And maybe you had 6 of them. And all of a sudden, now, I'm not using that to say that Bitcoin's baseball cards. What I am saying, though, is nobody got rich who wasn't scamming or running a business. Nobody got rich overnight in crypto unless you were really lucky. And of course, there's that baseball card collector that walked into the antique shop, bought a box of cards, who maybe did find that Mickey Mantle and did get rich overnight. But that's not the ordinary way this happens. And it's the same thing in at least concept with what Bitcoin is. If you believe in Bitcoin, you don't mind it going down because you can buy some more. You just don't.
or like back to the Mickey Mantle thing. You're the like scam artist guy that's like wandering through an old lady's garage sale, and you're like, ooh, like you spot the card, have no like, I mean, I guess I'll give you like $5 for it or something like that. She's like, oh, okay, these old things. But yeah,
hey, give me $1. You could have them.
well, but the great thing about using that analogy, because it's the same thing that happened with like comic books, or even like Star Wars toys. But the problem with those things is then at the time, obviously, no one knew they were going to have any value. You know, the like you said, they're either tossing them in the ocean because they're like, our business is bullshit, or there are other kids putting them in their bike spokes because, you know, they're like, oh, this is just a stupid car. This isn't going to be anything. But then, you know, you get to the 90s or late 80s, early 90s when people realized some of these things were valuable, comic books, baseball cards, stuff like that. Then people flood the fucking market with bullshit.
Yep.
And you buy your like gold-plated card that's limited edition and you keep it in the plastic or whatever.
Yep.
But something like Bitcoin, it's like the opposite because I mean, I guess you can maybe count shit coins as like the version of the
all the excess, right?
Yeah. But the other side of that is like, I mean, especially coming from a newer perspective, like people don't understand that there's a limit on people understand. People know
Exactly.
Bitcoin because they hear it. They hear about it in the news. They see the headlines when the price goes up and people start talking about it. But people don't understand that there's a limited.
You can't go and print King Griffey Jr. cards for 2 more years afterwards, right?
Correct.
It's impossible.
So it really will, like, if you're at least at this point, if you're just someone who's, you know, buying some here and there, you're well ahead of the curve. So
exactly.
Don't try to get too stressed out on the price dropping because you're a few steps ahead. I mean, I even consider myself, who's fairly new to the space, a few steps ahead from the majority of people.
I completely agree. Now, look, and you know, just to kind of go back to this baseball card analogy, which I really don't want to compare the complacency of a baseball card industry to how serious and how big of a deal Bitcoin is, because Bitcoin is a revolutionary idea for people to transact. Baseball cards are a hobby that don't matter, right? Like this is a disposable hobby. If you're doing it for a living, you're either a really badass businessman who's been able to kind of put a lot of money up front because you made some money, or maybe you just traded your way up to the top. I don't know. Gary Vaynerchuk, one of my, you know, my entrepreneur, you know, heroes. He's a huge card collector and always has been, but he took a break after the junk wax era in the 90s, kind of got to him like a lot of people did, including myself. I was collecting as a kid, you know, stopped doing it. I got older, so it seemed like it was kind of too old. But guess what? Today, even through that decade of like just trash, the baseball and basketball card industry is the strongest and the most expensive that it's ever been. And
those, at all.
What's that?
That's interesting because I wouldn't even think that at all because I haven't thought about it since I was a kid.
Exactly. And, you know, there's a lot, and we're not talking about, and this is what Gary Vee was saying. I listened to one of his interviews the other day because I've recently kind of got back. My brother's been collecting cards for pretty much his entire life. And, you know, I've always kind of like, you know, pointed at him and be like, how's your baseball cards doing, bro? You know, and then he's like, how's your Bitcoin business doing, bro? I'm like, bro, chill, man. Bitcoin, come on. But it's one of the reasons why I bring up this analogy is because I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me is that, you know, Jim, I look at where the baseball and basketball card industry is, and you see these new kids hopping into it. And Gary Vee was saying this. He goes, if you look at the sneaker culture, right? These kids are buying sneakers and they're flipping them. And what's the one problem with these entrepreneur kids that want the world and they're so hungry, they're so motivated, but it's supply. They literally cannot get enough for that to matter. And so he's been talking about how he thinks that culture is going to bleed into sports card collecting because there's so many similarities. The only difference is you can't wear them. Well, guess what? Most of these kids aren't wearing those damn sneakers anyways, right? They're collecting them because they're collectible, like Beanie Babies, right? And at some point, you know, somebody is going to forget about a pair of Jordans and they're going to wake up in 40 years, not even realizing they had it, you know, and they're going to be like, man, I got to clean up the house. And their grandkids are going to walk and be like, holy shit, grandpa, you've got $1.5 million pair of Jordan 49s. And he's going to be like, what? Are you kidding me? Shut up, kid. Can I have them, Grandpa? He's like, you can effing have them. And you know what? Kid's gonna be rich. But
Yeah.
that's what's gonna happen with Bitcoin. Those of you who cannot put up with this decade of, of this quote unquote decade of like just trash that came with the ICO period, and this is what I'll call the junk wax period. It's going to overcome. And guess what? Like I said, just like in basketball, baseball, football cards, it's never been stronger than it is today, even going through that trash period of cards. I mean, like literally millions upon millions of cards created during an era where people thought that they were rare because that's what it used to be like. Well, guess what? What does that sound like? ICOs, just like you said, Jim. Anyways, I hope this isn't boring. I feel like I'm making sense to me, but I don't know if it actually makes sense.
I think it makes complete sense. And like you said, I mean, obviously, there's a lot more upside and a lot more importance, like you were just saying, about something like Bitcoin. But I think it's a nice, easy way to break it down. And I see in the chat, Baz, I hope that that's the case with my first generation Transformers. Dude,
Baz, do you know what those are worth right now? You might want to go on eBay, bro.
Yeah.
You probably literally just, you listening to me today, Baz, you just probably made a bunch of money. You go look at those first generation Transformers. Are they still in the package, dude?
Yeah, keep them in mint on card, my dude. But yeah, I think it's just a nice way to kind of break it down a little bit, especially just like we're talking now. People are pretty bummed, or they got seasonal depression, and then Bitcoin price ain't helping them. They're looking at their charts. People are drawing dinosaurs on them or smiley faces because they've given up. But don't give up. You might have a Mickey Mantle rookie card in there.
Exactly right.
But now, Joe. But I mean, you've been in the game for a bit. Do you fall victim to this sometimes, staring at the numbers, or what do? You just forget about it?
It depends, right? Because I was able to leave my job at a certain point, and I went into, at one point, Jim, I thought I was going to be rich forever, right? And then quickly, I was reminded by reality that anything that's too good to be true often is. And you know what? Had I just stayed in Bitcoin and only done Bitcoin, maybe a little Ethereum and Litecoin, the power coins, as I say, had I not got greedy and got into a bunch of shit coins that literally, even at 1 cent, are down 90 something percent from its original, point of entry. Yeah, you can get caught up looking at those charts, but I'm more of like, what if right now, right? I'm not as in like go up. I mean, I'm sure many of you watching, and I know Baz, you've had many discussions. Baz is watching. Chelsea, I'm sure you can relate to this, although you're more of a trader than you are a holder. I do know that. But as Baz and I have spoken about, we're so far down on so many of our coins, like it's not even worth selling. I mean, if I had $1,000 in a coin and it's worth $16 today, are you selling that, Jim?
Yeah, no.
I'm not even selling if it goes up double from where it's at, right? I mean, I just might as well just forget about it.
Just think of that money as gone, and then, at the very least, if it's in the back of your mind somewhere, maybe it'll come back. It's better.
You know what? Let me tell you, there's going to be a Mickey Mantle, rookie 1959 rookie card in one of those altcoins.
Yeah,
mark my effing words right now. There's a Mickey Mantle card in one of those altcoins, and it might sound crazy. There's no way that anybody ever could have conceived that there would be a Mickey Mantle rookie card. Like you said, there's probably more Mickey Mantle baseball cards used to make noise in people and kids' spokes of their bike, like you put out there, than there are in existence today, right? Because nobody ever took them effing seriously back then. There was no reason to. Nobody realized that they would be actually, worth. And I hate to kind of bring it back to these baseball cards things, but I just want people to really realize that markets are driven by perception. And tell me why a baseball card is worth any different with Mickey Mantle's face or mine on it, Jim. What's the difference? Honestly,
it just is, because
it's the same piece of effing paper, right? It's the same type of ink. The only difference is it's Joe or Mickey Mantle.
The Joe one's worth more, in my opinion.
Thank you, sir.
If we spread that perception out there, then that becomes the more valuable than Mickey Mantle rookie.
I see what you're saying, my friend. Right, Jim? And I think that's a really great point is, all of a sudden, if Joe Blackburn what if Joe Blackburn is running for president? All of a sudden his 2019, rookie card for radio show host, all of a sudden that might be worth something, and it's just perceived rarity and collectability, right? And so it's really Baz View has a Joe Blackman rookie card. Look, if you go to tops.com, you can literally make your own baseball cards. I'm doing that for Christmas for some folks, by the way.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's a great idea. That's a great gift idea.
Hey, look, Fred Krueger says, not sure if the baseball card analogy works. Are you a Mickey Mantle maximalist? Are you Babe Ruth shit cards? I mean, hey, look, I agree, Fred. And that's kind of the point is I was actually comparing the market in general to like how baseball cards even went through that tumultuous period. And that now today they're stronger than they've ever in the history of collecting cards in any capacity. So I just think it's a really relevant point where even in the worst of times where nobody thought it could ever recover, it's literally a decade after the wax era, and we're in the epitome of what the market's ever been, which probably means that there's a downfall coming at some point soon too.
Plus, you want to get that card. I don't know if this is an urban myth or whatever. Wasn't there a card where a guy had a curse word written on the bottom of his bat or something like that?
That is not an urban myth.
Okay.
It was fuckface, and it's on the bottom of Bill Ripken, which is Cal Ripken's brothers. I think I don't know if it's a rookie card or not, but it literally says F face on the bottom of the bat handle. He's got the bat handle. He knows what he's doing, right? This is a baseball. He's a 23-year-old baseball player, right? He's got the bat on his shoulder like this, like it's up, and he's just holding it, and it says F face. And they later on found it, and they blotted it out with a black box because this is before the days you could just, go in there and Lightroom and Photoshop it. So they just put a black box over it. So the fuckface bat handle card is actually still probably worth $500 to $1,000 in mint condition.
Yeah, because just a few got out and then they just like stopped production and like edited it or whatever.
Yes. In fact, I've been impressed that you like, are you pretending like you don't know what you're talking about and you're just asking this so that I'll answer the question?
Well, I know a little bit. I know a little bit about a lot of things.
Yes, you do. Well,
yeah.
I guess that's what happens when you have your own talk show for 10 years.
Jack of all trades, master of none, I guess.
I don't know. You've kind of mastered talking about things.
Oh, thank you.
What'd you say?
I don't like to pat myself on the back so
right.
much, but yeah, I would say so.
All right, so let me ask you a question now.
Yes.
Of all the things that we've talked about, if you listen to this podcast tomorrow, if you let's say you don't even know who we are, right? Bitcoin Radio or Joe Blackburn or Jim Scampoli, and you listen to this just based off of our conversation and putting yourself like outside of the conversation, do you think this analogy makes it more simple for people to understand, Jim? Or are we taking away the credibility of Bitcoin by me referencing baseball cards? Like, honestly.
No, I mean, I'm sure to someone who's like big into the technical side and or a little bit more of an expert, it does sound pedestrian or something like that. I'm
like
sure
Fred Krueger, who's watching right now, who's the founder of Links Chain,
which is completely fine. I get that, but we are just trying to, like, obviously it's not a 1-to-1, but I think for a lot of people out there, it just puts it a little bit more. It's more about putting it in perspective than just saying like, exactly. Hey, these are your baseball cards, go buy Bitcoin. It's just talking about some of the potential upsides and some of the things that can happen, especially looking at it from, like I was saying before, there are a lot of things that seem like common knowledge to people in the space that normies don't get, as far as
no coiners.
Yeah, is that what you call them? No coiners?
No coiners, yep.
Yeah, it's just a lot of things that they don't...
Knockiners.
So I think it just helps. And again, we're in... It's not... I don't think that the community is completely down, but, people aren't as excited right now just because things are either on a downturn or stagnant. Yep. So
agreed. So actually, Miami, the conference in Miami is coming up in January. And that's like the start of the new year. It really starts now because anybody going to Miami or probably already knows they're going to Miami. I was messaging Mo Levin the other day. I was talking to the Joel Com from Bad Crypto. He's going. He's already booked. He booked his flight today to Miami. And I don't know if Miami's gonna. I mean, 2 years ago, Jim, Miami North American Bitcoin Conference, January 1st, 2018, was literally the most intense, craziest, stupidest Lambo Moon Boy conference I've ever seen in the best way possible. Not to mention that the actual conference was sponsored by Dash, who threw the official North American Bitcoin Conference party at a strip club. Like, how much more dude Lambo Moon Boy can you get? Now, I did attend. I was very aware that this was probably not the best public relation PR move for the event. I recognize that as naive as these people were to that fact, because I don't think they did it to offend anybody, it definitely isolated the audience, right? To say the least. Now, that was the way crypto was for the 2 years leading up to that huge bull run. Because keep in mind, as North American Bitcoin Conference rolled around beginning of January 2018, we had yet to feel what was then to be the $3,500 drop, right?
Yeah.
And I look at, what that entire North American Bitcoin Conference kind of signified for crypto was, it's a bunch of people who had no idea what was going to come next. It was outrageous. And I was living in fantasy land myself. I had just quit my job in November, right? A month before, I just recently said, you know what? I made a lot of money. I can quit my job. Yo, fam, I'm unemployed. I'm retired, I mean, it was kind of cool to tell people that at Thanksgiving for about 2 months.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, that went on, that went down, and that signified the beginning of the end, in my opinion. Like, obviously, it was already in motion for all this to collapse. But it signified that moment for me that I realized shortly after, not sustainable. Like, this is not the group of people you want building blockchain right now. And what has happened is that we regressed. We became a shell of what we thought we were, but really all we were was what was left. That's literally what we actually were. We got rid of all this fake, wannabe Moon Boy Lambo. I made, 500 grand. I can, go pretend like I'm super rich, like whatever. I mean, you can't live off $500,000 for the rest of your life at 24 years old. Sorry, bro. I know it feels like a lot of money just fresh out of college, but bro, that ain't a lot of money. I think now the projected amount of money you have to have saved to retire and retire comfortably at the middle to upper middle class is $6.2 million at the age of 62 or so. That's insane. That seems like a lot of money because just 50 years ago, Jim, that number was like 900K, Yeah. Now, that should, number one, tell you inflation's a mother whatever. And number two, let you know that if you have $500,000 in crypto, you shouldn't retire, right? I'm still busting my ass, trying to figure out something at the moment. But fortunately, it's still working out at the moment, and we're going to continue to do such. But going back to the North American Bitcoin Conference, I'm really looking forward to seeing what this year is going to sound like or what it's going to look like compared to last year, which was not that great. And then, because that was right in the middle of $3,500 Bitcoin, keep in mind. And honestly, people were calling $1,800 Bitcoin the same way they're calling $5,000 right now.
So yeah, but real quick. So last year wasn't the Lambo strip clubs. It was the year before.
January 2018.
Okay.
Not this year, January 2019.
So January 2019, was that more like a funeral procession then? Was it like everyone sad and dour, or what was?
I had a great time last year. I had an incredible time last year. Now, that being said, I had a half of CCT hanging out with me, right? So what's not the love, right? Not half of CCT, but the main core group of friends. I'm pretty sure Baz was there. I don't know if Jason made it, maybe not. I know he was at WCC last year, but I don't think he made it to Miami. But Donnie Mertens made his first appearance. Me and Ben showed up. We at that point we were still trying to build up the website, which again we may address later on. But what we wanted for the website was actually behind the market, even though my idea was in front of it. I couldn't get it into implementation until after it was already passed. And the hardest thing I ever did was like, this is not going to work anymore, But nevertheless, going into North American Bitcoin Conference this year, I feel like we've already passed through all that negativity, Jim. Like the reset button has been hit. So if we come back a little bit, right? I'm okay. I'm okay with it. It's not a bad thing to hit the reset button. Now, Jim, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
You're new to the space. You can't really say you're new anymore because 1 month in crypto we say is like 6 to 12 months. Okay. But you're newer still because it's still not your priority. You have a regular job. You bust your ass every Friday. You have Jim and Them. If you're not subscribed to Jim and Them, I suggest that you are because it's an amazing show. I'm a huge fan. I've yet to be on this show, and I'm going to bring that up every time we go live. That's okay.
Fair
Maybe
enough.
one day I'll get invited. But look, no pressure. That's not a request to be on your show. I'm just saying I haven't been invited. That's just a fact, right? I'm not bitter about it or anything.
Sounds like a request.
but regardless, you are somebody who has a very clean outlook and a really clean perspective of this. So if you are, you're not day trading, are you?
No.
Have you even attempted it?
No. I mean, I've because most of if I've gotten Bitcoin, it's because it was sent to me. And a lot of it, since it is like a payment, I usually cash it out. I do keep a little bit in there, and
Yeah, of course, you got a little stash.
Yeah, I got a little stash, and I think it was probably, I guess, good timing for me because when in July was like when I first got a little bit, and that's when things was going up. So then I started thinking like, oh, maybe I got to start putting my own money. Like, what do I got to do here? But then it just started dropping. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do that right now.
Yeah, I'm out. Peace out, folks.
I'll do that later.
I'll just edit the podcast. Little did you know, you were actually on the podcast now.
Yeah. So, I mean, so from there, yeah, just got a little stash, and yeah, I take a peek, see where we're at.
Fair. So how often would you say you're actually looking at the price?
I mean, a lot less now. I mean, throughout
just because it's not going up, right?
Yeah. Throughout like August and through September and October, it was probably at the very least once a day. But now it's like maybe every few days, take a look at it, see what it's doing.
Yep. Okay. So I'm asking you this for a reason, obviously, and that is, are you surprised when you're down a little bit?
Not anymore. Initially, I was very like surprised. Yeah, I was like, uh-oh. But then
how long do you think that time period took for you to be like, oh shit, it's down, to like, okay, I'll wait till tomorrow?
Probably it still probably took a couple weeks, but this is
a couple weeks. That's it.
Yeah, but this is me talking like it's not like I have a lot of personal stake. I could imagine that if I was buying to trade or, seeing it going up, so I'm putting in thinking it's going to keep going up, I could see that being a little bit more stressful and probably keeping more of an eye on it. But it was more money that I was just like, okay, I'm just going to keep that in and see what happens with it.
Sure. At any point, do you look at the price at now and say, man, I should put an extra $25 in?
I definitely think about it. I haven't really done that yet, just between just doing some catch up stuff and with holiday.
Sure. Yeah. We've got Christmas, and we talked a little bit last week about how important Christmas is to you and giving and making sure that you do your part. And it makes complete sense, by the way. But the reason why I'm structuring this is I don't think you're that dissimilar to everybody else in crypto, as a majority at least, right? Sure, okay. I think your perspective is probably very similar to how a lot of people have viewed this for the last few years. That is, if I have an extra $25, I'm putting in it. Jim, the first Bitcoin I ever bought was for $1,000. I PayPal'd somebody $1,000. They sent me this Bitcoin. I had no clue how to use this wallet. I don't even, know how I was able to give a address. Like, I did not comprehend. And this is back in 2013, not 2017, where I could find somebody that I knew who could at least instruct me or watch a YouTube video on it. There was nothing.
I mean, you're lucky you just didn't get completely scammed. Like, someone just sends you an email with a long hash number and they're like, here's your Bitcoin.
There's your Bitcoin, yeah. And then never talk to me again, right?
This email.
I'd be like, to this day, I'd probably be like, I got a Bitcoin somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but it's somewhere around there. No, but literally, you're right. But that's how beautiful the space was back then. Like, it was scam. I don't want to say scammer free, but people wanted a good reputation for the space. And, just by communicating with people online, and I was introduced to this dude by somebody else who was just as dumb as me, about crypto and Bitcoin at the time. But he was like, hey, dude, this guy's always taking care of me. He's going to take care of you. I don't even know who the hell he is. I got a lot to thank him for. That's for damn sure. But immediately afterwards, within a few months, Jim, guess what? My $1,000 was $250, you know? Yeah. And I didn't have a lot of money back then. Right? $1,000 was my entire savings account. Like I was that guy, like, hey, don't risk more than you can. I was like, what? I didn't hear what you had to say. Here's $1,000. That's my entire savings account. Make me rich, because it just gone up to $1,000, right? So I watched it and I was like, shit. You know, I just got out of the Army. I barely knew what I was going to do next. And I was like, man, what do I do now? Right? What do I do now, Jim? I can't cash it out, because then my wife's going to know that I lost $750, which is in our entire savings account. Or, you know, I can just continue to add to it and hope that it goes back up enough where I can get even and cash back out. And back then, Jim, all I wanted was Bitcoin to get back to like $600, because that's what I bought into enough where I would be even. And surely, Jim, if it had hit $1,000, it would at least go back to 600, just based off the fact that people think it will go back up to 600 or 1,000, right? Little did I know that by the time it got to $600, I was already up, right? I was already up. And then I had 3, 4, 5, 6. Before you know it, I had a 9.5 Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin was $1,200.
Yeah.
And what I do? I bought more. And then guess what it did? It went down to $800. Again, like I didn't learn my lesson the first time. Or did I? Did I actually learn my lesson the first time? Knowing that no matter what the price is today, it's relative to what it's going to be in 5 years from now.
Yeah.
And so maybe I did learn my lesson, Chip. And maybe to this day, I've still learned that lesson, where it's not too good to be true. It's an honest, real, perfectly upfront situation with what Bitcoin's doing. And I think it's so important for people to realize you don't always have to learn hard lessons. Sometimes your lessons can suck immediately, but they are really, really, really beneficial in the years come. And that goes for every hard investment you can make. Land, gold, add Bitcoin.
Magic. It's magic. It's real life magic when you think about it.
Yeah. And those who are concerned every day, who are day traders, that's irrelevant to me. I will go and day trade when I need $100 to buy some beer or a nice bottle of liquor. Yeah, I'll go in there and play around. But I consider that gambling casino money. I'm not that great of a trader. I am a fantastic holder. You will find few in the whole land better than I.
In the land of holding?
In the land of hodler.
Hodleberg. I was reading a little bit of this comment from Fred, he's referenced Tom Lee before. I'm not familiar.
Yep.
In any given year, the vast majority of gains in Bitcoin price come in just the 10 biggest trading days, according to this rule. During the last bull market of 2017, price rose an incredible 1,136% in 10 days. In those 10 days. But even during the bear market of 2018, the best 10 days saw an overall gain of 66%. However, you exclude those days, it tells a different story. In most years since 2013, those days have seen mainly quite considerable losses. But then again, it's like it's all about those 10 days then. So it's not really, I mean, it's still kind of agreement with what we're saying. It's just more about, it's not like this get rich quick scheme. Correct. That some headlines and clickbait will allow you to believe.
And here's the problem. And first off, Fred, great post. Thank you for writing that out and explaining that. I think that's a really, really relevant topic to have its own conversation about. And here's the thing. Here's what we're all fortunate to do is Fred has promised me that he's going to come on Bitcoin Radio very soon, and maybe as soon as this week. So, Fred, I did see that you messaged me. I have not responded back to you, and I will. But me and Fred will have this conversation. You know, Jim, that might be something that you want to be on too, because I think you'll have a lot of honest questions for him. But it goes to show that Bitcoin, its survival is not the question. It's how much money am I going to make? That's the question that everybody's really asking when they're talking about Bitcoin's going to die or not, right? Yeah. So, you know, who is really at fault here? Is it the people who are on Bitcoin who want it to go up? Are they bad? Are they wrong for talking about it like it's going to keep going up? No, they're not. They believe that. I mean, if they're honest, if they're not being shady about things, and they mean things honestly when they say them to you, intent's everything. But reality is reality. And if you're a bear, which most of my friends are bears because most of them are traders because that's how they've had to survive this space. It sucks to be a hodler because you're going to lose until you win. And that's why if you watch how I post when Bitcoin goes up from $7,000 and hits 11K and you hear me saying, ha ha, you're the idiot. I hope you were short. I hope you got wrecked. Actually, I don't really hope that for anybody, whether you're long or short. That's not my goal here. But when I get really excited, I'm like, boom, it's because everybody thought it was going to keep going down and they don't realize the gains come and they come quickly. In the same way that Fred just referenced, we saw a 400% gain in one day at one point, right? Just a month ago or so. And I mean, it is what it is. Hey, by the way, Fred, you cannot time it. That's a great point. Is if you think you know, you're the idiot. If you think you know, or potentially you are the whale. Either way, you still might get wrecked. But
I've been told the charts don't lie, so I don't know. People say they can time it.
Okay, well, Mr. Charts don't lie. Not you, but
people have said.
If you are that person, you're not worried about trading anymore. You know what you're doing? You're drinking your Bahama Mama drink on the shores of some Caribbean, beautiful country, looking out at the sea, not worried about your computer, not worried about nothing. You're just stacking sats and drinking Bahama Mamas. Because that's all I'd be doing.
Yeah, like Office Space again, the guy with the red stapler. The end of the movie.
What a genius. What a superstar, bro. The most unsuspecting, the guy who didn't even have a job. He literally just was like, my paycheck, my paycheck.
But he's still getting treated like shit even on the island at the end. So it goes.
Yeah, but if you think about it, he obviously had a plan.
Yes. Yeah.
He had a plan. And so the more unsuspecting he is, the dude's probably like really freaking cool in real life, right? But the dumber he looks to everybody, the more they think they take advantage of him, and there's strength in that.
Yeah, underestimate him.
Hey, Fred, I don't know Tom Lee personally. I would love to have him. If you have a connection with him, I would love to. So feel free to reach out on behalf of me or connect me. And that goes for anybody else who has an awesome person who needs to be on the show. Me and Jim are always looking forward to having a great guest. And this eventually is going to be a call-in show, like where we're going to have 30 minutes where you have 5 minutes on the mic and whoever's watching is able to be like, yo, Joe, Jim, y'all are idiots. This is what we think. This is what I think. Hey, Joe, take your shirt off. No. Oh, why not? Oh, because I'm not taking my shirt off. Right. I don't know why I'm having a conversation with myself at this point. Jim's putting on chapstick.
Well, I like the second thing you went to is they're always going to call in and be like, Joe, take your shirt off. Because I'm always like, no. Please, we're trying to talk about Bitcoin here. Stop telling me to take my shirt off.
And for the record, I'm not the type of guy that actually wants to take his shirt off. If that's what it appears as, it's been a minute since I've been at the gym. So
it's just that the people are always requesting it, though.
Baz says, "Is this how the show works?" Both of you co-hosting. That is correct on the live cast. Jim was on the last podcast I was on too. But I would like to think that in the future this is going to be a live morning show, midday show, whatever it ends up being. And that me and Jay will be hosting it, kind of like a morning show, or I'm referencing a morning show kind of personality. But who knows? Maybe Baz will have you on at some point soon again.
Hell yeah! Thank you.
Hey, look, that's another. You're starting to become famous, Jim. Again, just in another niche.
It's all part of the plan.
Look,
oh, good.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
A year from now,
yeah,
if we blow up, what if we are like handing out awards, like as a tandem, like a comedy tandem, on some like major stage for crypto awards? I mean, could you see it?
Yeah, we'll do like a who's on first bit, like who's on first, Bitcoin.
So just expect if we get that famous at some point, I'm gonna make sure Jimmy Fallon walks out as me.
Jeez. Oh, Jesus.
We can't get through an episode without talking about how... Hold on. This is actually my fault. I've got us on the close-ups tonight. Jimmy Fallon has like this, like, there you go. Jimmy Fallon is hanging out with Jim Scampoli. I am so proud every time I get to see how cool. First off, if y'all don't know, Jim is a humongous Jimmy Fallon fan. Like,
No, I have to explain this every time. There's layers to me. If I have him as my background, it means that I don't like him. I know I'm complicated. What can I say?
I just don't believe you.
No, the goof is that he's the worst. That's why he's the background.
I like your shirt. What is your shirt saying? It's like normal guy, and then it's like police officer, and it's like I'll give you a beer.
Have you ever seen the movie Shaun of the Dead?
I have. Yes. Is that Sean on the far? You're right. My left.
Have you ever seen the movie Hot Fuzz?
Of course.
And the movie World's End?
I have not.
Those three movies are
represented.
The Cornetto trilogy. And that's each flavor of the Cornetto. There's the red flavor, the blue flavor, and the green flavor. They're all connected.
So I'm assuming my left, your right, is that's going to be Shaun of the Dead, and then Hot Fuzz is in the middle, and then obviously because he's wearing a police vest, and then what's World's End?
The World's End, yeah, that's he's holding a pint because the World's End, the movie storyline, it follows a pub crawl.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I know we are.
I don't know if people have seen them or not, but check them out. Simon Pegg, the Cornetto trilogy.
Sure. No, I mean, I have seen Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead's hilarious. I mean, I've only seen it probably like 52 times because it came on like HBO for a while or whatever it was, and I just would turn it on and fall asleep to it. So I've seen probably parts of it, but I know the entire movie, right? What's up, Jordan? Welcome to the show. We are just signing off. Fred, thanks for your participation tonight, man. I can't wait to have you actually on the show. Baz, as always, dude, I'm grateful for not just your friendship, but also your influence on my crypto experience and life. And everybody else. And I know Chelsea was watching, one of the newest mods, the CCT. Appreciate it. Probably feels like it's her duty to be watching. You don't have to, but I appreciate you actually watching. And for those other 12 people that are watching at the moment, as we wind it down, feel free to make sure you make comments and let us know that you're watching. So, Baz with the Joe Blackman rookie card again. I appreciate that. Jim, what did we miss, man?
I think we covered it. There's one thing I wanted to hit on that I do right now on my show, jimandthem.com. We are running a toy drive where we try to get tots turned, like turned up. We're trying to make things
Tots
nice. Yeah. You do toys for tots. We get tots.
Yeah.
We make sure.
But you're not insinuating that like the turnt that me and you might get on Bourbon Street is what? Okay. Yeah. Just making sure, I mean, you're a Vegas boy now from Boston. I mean, that's kind of a weird mix. So you just never know.
Just getting the taunts turned for the holidays. So we are accepting donations. This is on the up and up. We've done it the past 4 years. I have pictures and stuff. There's pictures on my site of us. We go and buy a bunch of toys. We donate them to underprivileged kids. So if that's something you think is cool, even $1 or something helps. It's much appreciated.
Absolutely. Jordan, just because I thought of this joke late, that's what she said. I'm going to leave it at that. Obviously, that's a joke.
Sauce now. He's doing it. That's
No. Hold on. I got something real to say. Right. Obviously, Jim, I'm very fond of you as a friend and as a co-host. And so I definitely want Tots Turnt to be a success. Do you take Bitcoin?
No, not currently. I got to get that fixed.
Okay. So that was the wrong answer, by the way. So when you get to the podcast tomorrow, edit that part out. And maybe you could just like record yourself saying, I'll have that address for you next week. Yeah. That would be a more appropriate answer. Or yeah. We'll have that set up next week. Okay, cool. All right. So as we bleed into the end of the month, as Christmas comes up, that's probably a weird way to say that Christmas is coming as we bleed into the end of the month. But there's obviously a lot of different things that you can do. Jim has a few experiences. Maybe we'll talk about that, on the next podcast, on the next live cast. Maybe we'll do one. Maybe we'll even do a Friday live cast at some point. I think it's I think it'd be fun to make sure that we have content out there for people to listen to. I enjoy listening to my own show afterwards. I don't know if that's narcissistic or if that's weird of me of any way.
That's a good thing. You want to make a show that at least you like. So
At worst, I mean, Jim, it appears at least as we usually converse after the show and after you edit it, that we go back and forth and give each other some thoughts and pointers to it. That you also enjoy it as I do. So if you would like to give us any feedback, we're always open. If you want to be on the show, let us know. We want to have you on. I see Adam Gambrell finally joined. About time, Oxford boy. Wake up, son. Or maybe you just did because you're a partier. I don't know. But until next time, WBTC, this is your man, Joe Blackburn. I'm joined by my co-host and dear friend, Mr. Jim Scampoli. What's up, Jim? Sign us off, brother.
Well, people, the cryptoverse.
I love doing this to him. At some point, he's just gonna get it.
Jesus, it's like I'm sauced up like Joe Blackburn. The cryptoverse belongs to all of us. We know what we're doing for it. What are you doing, people? Till next time.
Until next time, the cryptoverse belongs to all of us. See you soon.